Hi, this is Jessica Adams. If you like astrology and murder mysteries, how about our new audiobook, The Aries Billionaire?
Hi, I'm Rachel Wells. The Aries Billionaire is the first audiobook in my new series with Jessica, Leo Moon, Astrologer Detective.
You can order it at audible.co.uk now.
Leo Moon is the Hercule Poirot of horoscopes,
Though he's a bit younger and better looking.
and we really hope you like it.
Rachel is a Sunday Times bestseller, so I predict you will.
This is the Astrology Show podcast with Jessica Adams.
Thanks, Shane. Here is your astrology and tarot for the week starting Monday, the 26th of February. Aries. Well, a group of people is a powerful thing, and if one person is just one person, it may seem as if one against the many is no match at all. You have Pluto, Mars, Venus, Fortuna, Bacchus, and Cupido, all in Aquarius, the sign of the group. In your house of circles, clubs, teams, communities, bands, political parties, networks, and gangs. So the question is, are you one against the many, or are you part of the hive mind that wants to test its power by eliminating somebody who clearly doesn't belong with you all? In a way, this is necessary for both or all of you. This week is about transformation. Pluto rules transformation, and once you all, and perhaps you singularly, come out of this, everything is completely different. Pluto does have a reputation for being quite intense in astrology, and so this week may seem quite emotional for you or for others involved. But at the same time, the group has to test its mettle, and you also have to find out where you are in relation to them, but by yourself as well. This is one of those weeks when the network or the circle itself will be forever changed by what happens. But if you do find yourself as one against the many, remember that what you survive makes you more powerful. It makes you stronger. It makes you more of a force to be reckoned with. So that's also part of the process this week. Taurus, when we go to your birth chart this week, we find your sun in Taurus in the second house of finance. And here we are with a whole lot of factors also in Taurus in your second house of finance. So juggling is the name of the game. What's happening is unpredictable, and it's got nothing to do with you personally. It's really about your country's economy or the world economy. It is wildly unpredictable, which we get when we have a transit of Uranus in Taurus, your own sign. So this is really about how do you respond and react when you cannot judge things from one week to the next. It would appear that you need to come up with a different system. At the moment, you may be robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, or you may be trying to balance your finances with those of another person or organisation. However it's panning out for you, though, the ideal this week is to try and come up with a system that will allow you to be more flexible. The unpredictable nature of Uranus in Taurus is with us all through this year, 2025 and 2026. So in a way, this week is a kind of a challenge to see how you go with coming up with something that will accommodate what cannot be so securely managed. It can be done, and it would save you a lot of time, Taurus, and also a lot of energy as well, because while you're focusing on juggling, you're missing the chance to do other things. Gemini, Juno in your zone of belonging, home, sanctuary, space, and place suggests that you are committed there or committed to somebody who offers that kind of security. Juno is in Virgo this week, an earth sign, and this week brings a message that if you have home comforts, Mother Nature, and a respect for what is, not what might be, everything in the garden can feel lovely. We also have the moon in a conjunction with the South Node in Libra, which rules your heart. So some heartfelt relationships never grow old. They are evergreen, they renew and they revive. This is a big message too for you or somebody else this week. There is a big focus here on the things that cannot be bought and sold. And these are a sense of place and a sense of purpose, but most of all, a sense of reward. Because once you have done all the things required of you, You can afford to enjoy yourself and relax in what you have achieved so much with. And this may be true for you or for another key person in your life. Cancer. Juno, an important asteroid in your zone of ideas, suggests that it's time to commit to a concept or wed yourself to a proposal. Of course, it may be somebody else who is thinking about committing, in which case this idea or concept is also very important to you. For the most part, though, Juno passing through Virgo in your zone of ideas is all about finding the right time and place to plant this thing. If it's not planted, then it may come to nothing, which would be a shame because this transit is quite useful. When we look at your whole chart, we also see that you have a huge stellium traveling through Pisces, which is about the bigger picture in terms of outside your part of the map or your region. So this may be across the country or it may be global. This does have tremendous potential. The stellium in Pisces is here for the most part all year, on and off. Therefore, what could be planted this week could grow, but admiring it or being distracted or being diverted is not the way, and this applies to you or to somebody else who's holding this in their hands. Leo. We have a whopping lineup in Pisces, which I've been chatting about, which rules for you legacies, wills and inheritance. It also rules marriage and mortgage. It rules the money go round, even without that paperwork. Saturn is there too, so this week is all about an older generation too. And Mercury is there, so this is about communication between the generations. It's time to talk. There is no doubt about the potential wealth here that could be shared or divided between people, but what is missing here is the get real factor that is required, because although financially or on a level of property or possessions or valuables, there should really be no complaints. There seems to be a disconnect here in that people aren't really connected or clued in with each other, even though there is so much to talk about. So that's something that you could actually correct this week, Leo, given the way that your chart looks. Virgo. Whenever we get a big pile up of stuff in Pisces, we get questions about boundaries, because Pisces is ruled by Neptune, a symbol of the ocean, and the sea has no boundaries. The fish that Pisces represent also are everywhere, all the time, all over the place. So the big message this week is from you or somebody else, capital B boundaries, this far and no further. This keeps it real. And one needs a firm grip on reality when there is too much line crossing going on. You might say blurred lines. You may be on the receiving end of this week. So rather like Prince Harry trying to cross a line with Princess Anne. You get the picture. But you may also be the one laying down the law. This is all quite useful. It needs to be done. And you don't have to be lacking in spirituality in order to say this far and no further. That is a very important message this week. Libra. Mars is the planet of great haste, speed, action, and also testosterone. When we find Mars in amongst a stellium in your chart, the pace is way too fast. So slowing down and cooling down is a useful thing to do for you or for those around you. What we have here is the family tree, which may be pruned, trimmed, and managed quite naturally and organically. It may be that nobody has to do anything. The family tree is going to find its own way and sort itself out. That is a force of nature. But at the same time, when we look at your chart and we see Mars in there so prominently, it may be that you or others feel they want to take this in hand and make it happen faster. That's all very well, but there is a question mark this week about how fast and hard anybody should go with this extended family of yours. Scorpio. Your chart this week is about a big, brilliant idea, concept or project. Apollo in Cancer is part of it in your 9th house of internet, publishing or academia, and it's probably about the web for you. But we also have Ceres, Ox and Psyche in Capricorn, which rules your concepts, your way with words, ideas and images. It also rules the media for you, as well as basic communication. Things on paper or in the back of your mind. If this is not grounded in reality and put somewhere where it can take off, there is absolutely no guarantee that it's going to survive this week. That will help you get a wriggle on and turn something that is very much in the ether into something that could grow and grow. That's what happens when you have transits in Capricorn, and you have a whopping transit in Capricorn this year. Sagittarius, whenever we see Mars surrounded by a stellium, we tend to get the message that boundaries with a big B are everything. And this is true for other signs apart from you this week. So this is a gatekeeper week, or a goalkeeper week, if you like. The gatekeepers and goalkeepers of the world say, do not pass for a very good reason. It means they don't actually have to take action. It's rather like showing the sword without pulling the sword. And that's Mars, but also powerful Pluto, now both in the same sign. So whether it's you who is waving a big stick or somebody else, it's quite useful, really, because without that kind of firm boundary keeping or goal keeping, we have a situation which perhaps nobody really wants. That's up to question this week. There is also a suggestion here that the family tree is part of the story, Sagittarius. Capricorn. Crossroads choices are really common after a full moon, which we just had on the weekend, but also when you have an opposition in your chart, which we also have. So stay or go, right or left, north or south, east or west, yes or no, are all typical crossroads choices this week. And the issue here is figuring out when to choose, how to choose, and why. This is true for you or for a key person, and what happens will alter everything. Of course, sometimes nothing happens. People, perhaps you, perhaps somebody else, just stay static, procrastinating and not moving at all. But that would be a waste, because in the background for everything is a group. It's an expanded network, a community or a circle of people that could have its own ripple effect, which would be tremendously important for you or for others. So maybe that's an incentive this week to actually choose. Aquarius. The stellium in Aries and the moon in Libra is all it takes to get you to travel or move, or to see others traveling or moving around you. The future is a blank screen, and it can be filled with all sorts of things this week. If it is you who is relocating or going on a journey, you're clearly leaving a situation that is best forgotten. If it's others who are shifting, the circumstances have been very tough indeed for them. Either way, the message this week is that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And the outcome of the blank screen of the future is really important, because it can be filled with anything at all. So given where you're coming from or where they're coming from, it might as well be filled with all the positive things. Pisces, you just had a full moon in Virgo on the weekend, on the 24th of February, and that's about your former partner, current partner, or your potential partner. So should I stay or should I go is sometimes the question. And let's go to bed, to quote Robert Smith, might be another question. Or not. You have Juno in Virgo at the moment in your 7th house of commitment. So a promise is a promise, or not. Juno is Jupiter's wife, and here she is in your sector of second honeymoons, separations, divorces, first dates, reconciliation, and so on. So you are hitting a very important phase in your life with the other person. What you two decide will come down to honest communication, quite obviously, and also the fact that you can't expect nature to take care of a confusing situation for you. If the clouds are there in the background and neither of you can see straight, it's not going to clear up by itself. You kind of have to make it happen. Your tarot card this week can be decoded at jessicaadams.com. Aries, the 10 of Swords. Taurus, the 2 of Pentacles. Gemini, the Empress. Cancer, the Page of Wands. Leo, the 10 of Pentacles. Virgo, the Queen of Swords. Libra, the Knight of Swords. Scorpio, the Ace of Wands. Sagittarius, the King of Swords. Capricorn, the 2 of Swords. Aquarius, the 6 of Swords, and Pisces, the Lovers. Fated connections this week are Virgo and Sagittarius, who are both dealing with boundaries, as we've seen. And we might say a capital D for do not cross the line. Babies born this week are strongly Pisces, with both Neptune and Saturn in that sign. They are telepathic and may be seeing or hearing their family in the spirit world, even when they're in the pram. Happy birthday this week to Jazz Coleman, who is 64, Sandy Shaw, who is 77, Steve Harley, who is 73, and Cindy Wilson, who is 67. If it's your birthday, then a corner of the internet which is new to you or just new will change your life if you allow it, and that starts in April. Your birth chart patterns this week are in Aquarius, the sign of groups and friends. We have Pluto, Mars, Venus, Fortuna, Bacchus, and Cupido all in Aquarius. So if you have anything in that sign, in the 11th house of your birth chart, which rules your allies and the circles that you move in, this is a new, powerful, and empowering phase with new or old friends. Power is nuclear level when Pluto is around, so it has to be handled with care, and you all have to share it. But there is huge potential here. I thought I'd talk about astrology results this week. In just 1 month, we have seen how the end of Pluto in Capricorn, which happened back on the 20th of January, has seen plutocrats failing or falling. This is really common when you get Pluto moving out of a zodiac sign. Capricorn rules the men at the top of the establishment, the tradition, or the system. So when it leaves Capricorn, you tend to get a power vacuum. So what's just been happening to Donald Trump, Charles III, and Vladimir Putin fits that category pretty accurately. A plutocrat gets his power from wealth. And in Capricorn, the sign of the man at the top, we were always going to see the decline and fall of the plutocrats as Pluto went out of that sign. So Putin has lost 400,000 troops in Ukraine. Charles III is sidelined with cancer. And Trump has again lost a legal battle. Pluto can be ruthless, and it has been just 1 month on. Now, a bit more about Pluto. This has also been in your chart in the sign of Capricorn since 2008. So nigh on a month now, you have been living quite a different sort of life with its absence from your horoscope. Which area of your life is changing? Well, Aries, it's about status, success, position, rank, and ambition. Taurus, it's been about foreigners and foreign places, the web, academia, and publishing. Gemini, finance, property, business, possessions, and charity. Cancer, partners, duets and also duels, double acts, and also disputes. Leo, health, well-being, workload, daily routine, and lifestyle. Virgo, courtship, the bedroom, children and young adults, the next generation. Libra, the family, your home, hometown, homeland, house or apartment. Scorpio, brothers, sisters, cousins, neighbours, the internet and the media. Sagittarius, finance, business, charity and property. Capricorn, reputation, image, title and personal appearance, branding. Aquarius, religion, self-help. Psychics, the tarot, spirituality, hypnosis, counselling and dreams. And Pisces, friends and groups. So what's been happening here is that Pluto has gone in this cycle and Ceres has moved in. And Ceres is going backwards and forwards all year. So in the place of a situation which never really changed very much, you're now seeing the potential for a lot of bargaining and a lot of new deal making. The deal may well be with yourself, so that you're quite well aware already that between now and Christmas, you're going to have to do some sort of trade with yourself. You're going to have to strike a bargain with yourself in that area of life that I've just mentioned. At the same time, there will be deal making with people around you. So there's a lot of compromising already beginning to take place. it's a little bit of give and take, really, which is what Ceres is all about. This particular dwarf planet was discovered in 1801, and when Pluto was demoted, reclassified, Ceres, who was actually his mother-in-law in mythology, was raised up. So with one stroke of a pen, astronomers in the year 2006 helped to demote Pluto and put Ceres up where she belonged. And that's too funny because, of course, astronomers don't believe in astrology for a single moment, but they were actually doing the symbolism of these two factors in your chart. Pluto, in that area of life that I've mentioned, ever since 2008, has utterly dominated, controlled, and taken over. So you have been through the most intense transformation not possible in 248 years. It ended in January, and now we have this other process going on called the Ceres process, and she is a symbol, as I've said, of compromise, give and take, making a deal with yourself, but also a deal with other people. Normally, this wouldn't take that long, but we have Ceres retrograding or going backwards and forwards through Capricorn for most of this year. So in a way, if you set yourself a long-term goal, a very long-term target, you're working with the timing really well and allowing for the process to be backwards and forwards. Pluto does briefly reappear in Capricorn as we go towards the end of the year and the arrival of the US presidential election. So that will be a really interesting sign-off for old systems and old faces and old setups which have very much had their day. In your own life, what you would experience between September and November is a kind of a flashback to the way things were and the realization that it's just not going to be like that anymore. So whatever area of your life is affected, and every solar sign is different, that is where you're going to go into 2025, feeling as if you've absolutely signed off on that chapter of your life. Pluto in transit can feel like a book with several chapters. You began this transit way back in 2008, and the world did it with you, which might explain why we have been in this really odd situation where a very few tiny number of men right at the top with most of the money have had most of the power. This has seen the rise and rise of organizations like Apple and Google, for example, and the notion that one person should have all the power in their hands and has done really took hold. But as I mentioned, what we're seeing now with Pluto out of Capricorn is the decline and fall of the plutocrats. Decline and fall because it will take most of this year for them to really be cleared off the stage. But what we do go into then is a completely different way of seeing power work, and it will be shared between the diverse members of the global community. So the money moves around, the people are moved into different places, and most of all, you're going to see women rise to the top. One of the things about this cycle is also that it's just the same as it was in Tudor England and also Georgian England. And one of the things that happens is that women tend to rise to the top. So don't be surprised if Charles III gives way to something that looks a little bit more like Elizabeth I and Bloody Mary. That's Tudor England. And funnily enough, this week he decided to put a Tudor crown forward as royal branding. So everything in astrology goes around in cycles and circles, which you're experiencing whether you're royal or not, of course. But the Tudor monarchy is back astrologically anyway, and that means that whoever plays Henry VIII is about to be usurped over the next 10 or 20 years by women rising through the ranks. What we're doing here with Pluto in Ceres is a kind of major sign-off of a long period in your life. In fact, it will take you quite a long time to get over some of the things that have happened. Pluto transits by nature are intense, they can be relentless, but they are a little bit like weight training in that if you resist and you practice resistance and you push back, you become stronger. If you give in and let Pluto take over, so you let the plutocrats run everything, or you allow people or organizations which are dominating to dominate you, then absolutely nothing changes. In fact, you can find it very difficult. So the golden rule really with this transit, with Pluto in its new sign of Aquarius, is always to own your power and understand that you will become stronger if you resist. We are now at 0 degrees, moving to 1 degree of Aquarius with Pluto in your chart. Now, if you have anything at all at 0 or 1 degrees in your birth chart, you will already be feeling the presence of quite powerful, intense people or organizations which are capable of reshaping you and reshaping your life. In other cases, you may be finding it quite difficult as you are just starting to understand what it means to resist. Pluto was found in 1930. Understanding it in your natal chart by sign and house can show you where you also need total control. The rise and rise of Pluto in the 30s coincided with a real power grab right across Europe and then across Asia. So Pluto ideas and Pluto concepts really started to land in the 30s. We also associate it with nuclear power and nuclear bombs. And of course, the ultimate power is in MAD, mutually assured destruction. And all of this happened in astrology as this planet was beginning to form a presence in our horoscopes. So you don't really mess with the Pluto transit, and it helps to understand it in your natal chart. If you were born in the 60s, then Pluto is in Virgo, the sign of health and the sign of fitness, which might explain why everybody that you know, born in the 60s, has very, very strong issues around being healthy and fit, what they eat and drink, vitamins, the gym, dieting, doctors, vaccines, and all the rest of it. If you were born later, so in the 1970s, Pluto is in Libra, the sign of relationships and the sign of marriage, but also the sign of equality between men and women and equality between all sexual preferences. So this is the generation, and maybe you're one of them, who has really strong fixed ideas about what can and cannot be allowed to happen in human relationships. Everybody being born now, all the babies who are arriving on the planet have Pluto in Aquarius. So for them, watch them at school because they will be absolute control freaks when it comes to their childhood gangs, their friends, everything from the Boy Scouts to the Brownies when they're a bit older. Pluto in Aquarius is about the need to dominate the group and control what happens within the group. So that will have repercussions for all of us by the time this lot of babies are in their 20s and 30s. At the moment, though, it can be really useful to understand Pluto in your natal chart. If you don't have your birth chart, you can pick one up free at astro.com, or you can order one at my website, along with a birth chart for any of your family or friends. Understanding Pluto in your chart, the aspects that it makes, the sign and house that it's in, and the transits to Pluto can show you how to manage your need to control and how to trade off or compromise with other people. And that's something worth knowing about. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch up with you next week.